Stacey hated nights like this. Nights that were supposed to feel victorious. Nights people dreamed about, that should have left her breathless with excitement. Instead, she sat alone in the dark bedroom of the penthouse suite, feeling strangely hollow. Outside the room, laughter exploded through the apartment. Her band was celebrating. 4 sold-out nights. 4 nights in the biggest stadium in the city, packed to capacity. Their latest record had stayed in the top 10 charts for 6 straight months. They were officially at the top of their game. Any other artist would have killed for this moment. But Stacey sat quietly on the edge of the bed, elbows on her knees, staring blankly at the floor, while the distant music from the living room vibrated through the walls. The bedroom door suddenly opened. Andre stepped in. "What are you doing in here?" he asked, frustration already creeping into his voice. "We're all out there celebrating." He leaned against the doorframe, shaking his head. "This is what we've been working for, Stacey. Why can't you just enjoy it for once? Be with your band members, raise a glass, celebrate, then come back here to brood or whatever it is you do." His eyes narrowed slightly. "Sometimes I honestly don't get you." Stacey stayed quiet. Andre continued. "You pushed us harder than anybody these past few weeks. You wanted this concert perfect. You practically drove us insane during rehearsals." He gave a short laugh. "And now we actually pulled it off. So why do you look miserable?" Stacey finally lifted her eyes toward him. "Andre, I just need a minute alone." Her voice was calm but tired. "Tell them I'll be out in a minute." He stared at her for a few seconds, clearly unconvinced. Then, with a sigh, he pushed himself off the doorway. "Fine, but don't stay in here too long." The door shut behind him. Silence returned. Stacey closed her eyes. She couldn't seem to catch a break from herself anymore. She had wanted this success and had fought for it, pushed the band harder than anyone else. And now here they were, successful, famous, wanted. So why did she feel like something inside her was dying? Her eyes drifted toward her phone resting beside her on the bed. Instinctively, she wanted to call someone. Her mum. That realization hurt more than she expected. Agatha used to be her best friend, before the arguments and the disappointment, before the constant conversations about calling and purpose. Her mother believed Stacey had abandoned the life God designed for her, and Stacey was tired of hearing it. "This is my life. I get to live it the way I want." So why wasn't she happy? That question haunted her constantly. She had asked herself over and over again, but never found an answer that satisfied her. With a long breath, Stacey stood up and headed for the living room. The moment she stepped in, the energy swallowed her instantly. Music blasted through the penthouse speakers. People laughed loudly. Champagne glasses clinked together. Friends, producers, and industry people filled the rooms celebrating the band's success. Roxy spotted her immediately. "There she is!" she yelled dramatically. Roxy rushed over and shoved a glass of champagne into Stacey's hand. "Oh no, you are not disappearing tonight," she said. "Do you know what we just did? We packed out the biggest stadium in the country 4 nights in a row." She pointed the glass towards Stacey. "Even you have to celebrate this." Before Stacey could respond, applause suddenly erupted around the room. Gianni appeared out of nowhere. "There's our girl." The Italian drummer wrapped his arms around her waist and lifted her clean off the floor, spinning her around while everyone laughed. "Gianni!" Stacey burst out laughing despite herself. "Put me down before I throw up!" He finally lowered her carefully. Still laughing, Stacey looked around at her band members. For a moment, she almost felt normal. Almost. She raised her champagne glass slightly. "Guys, seriously, well done." The room quietened slightly. "We gave this everything we had and we did it. Every single one of you showed up out there." She smiled warmly. "We were good. Really good." "Cheers!" Jared shouted dramatically from the couch. Another round of applause erupted. "Enjoy your rest while it lasts," Stacey continued jokingly. "Because once we finally start that international tour, none of you are sleeping again." "To be postponed," Jared muttered from the piano corner. The room exploded with laughter. Stacey laughed too, at the right moment, with the right expression. She was becoming very good at pretending. Inside, though, she felt empty, and she knew Andre noticed. He never quite knew what to do with these moods of hers. They had been together for 4 years now, but even after all this time, there were parts of Stacey he could never reach. Maybe because she herself didn't understand those parts anymore. Her eyes drifted toward him across the room. Andre was laughing with a producer near the balcony doors. Still magnetic. Still beautiful in that dangerous way. She remembered the first day he arrived in their neighborhood 6 years ago. She had been 16. He had walked into town carrying rebellion around him like a second skin. Everything about him fascinated her. She had spent her entire life being the good girl, church girl, choir girl. Then Andre showed up and looked at the world like rules were optional. His mother had brought him to church one Saturday and forced him into the choir. Even then, he had acted like he was already a celebrity, and the rest of them was simply lucky to exist around him. Stacey had found him insufferable, until the choir leader paired them together to lead a worship song. Her fingers tightened slightly around her champagne glass at the memory. The moment they started singing together, everything changed. When the song ended, the church hall had fallen completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. It was so quiet, one could hear a pin drop. Stacey remembered standing there shaken. She herself had nearly cried. They sounded unbelievable together. She had always sung well with Daniel, her brother. People loved their harmony. But this was different. This felt electric, dangerous, like two sounds colliding and creating something neither of them understood. She remembered looking at Andre and realizing instantly that he felt it too. Then suddenly the entire choir exploded into applause. Everybody started talking at once. "Oh my God, did you hear that? They sound incredible together. The chemistry, the harmony. You two are meant to sing together." And somewhere in the middle of all that applause, without realizing it, their destiny together had quietly begun. After that day in the choir, they had become inseparable. It was as if both of them were addicted to recreating whatever had happened during that song. Every rehearsal became electric. Every harmony felt dangerous. Andre would look at her sometimes after singing and just smile, like he had discovered something valuable. And slowly, he started changing the way she saw her world. "This can't seriously be your dream," he would tease her sometimes while they walked home after choir practice. "You can't honestly plan to stay in this tiny town forever, singing in church every Sunday." At first, Stacey used to laugh it off, but Andre never stopped. "You have a voice the world deserves to hear." There was always conviction in the way he said it. He started taking her to underground music shows around neighboring towns. Sometimes he would practice with local bands while Stacey sat in the corner watching. That world fascinated her. The music felt free, raw, unrestricted. Nobody was watching every word they said. Nobody was worried whether lyrics sounded spiritual enough. There was rebellion in it, freedom in it. And there was a part of Stacey that wanted that freedom desperately. Because as much as she loved worship, sometimes gospel music felt constricting, like she constantly had to measure herself, guard herself, watch herself. Andre noticed her fascination immediately, and he fed it carefully. When he left for university, he kept calling her. "Join me here," he would say. "We can finally make real music." Whenever he came back home during breaks, he always took her to campus events, band rehearsals, music festivals, student concerts. And each time Stacey returned home afterward, her old life felt a little smaller. Before Andre, she had never wanted anything outside what she already knew. Church and choir, Sunday services. Her entire family served in church in one capacity or another. Her parents were leaders. Daniel, her brother, practically lived in ministry. And honestly, she had once been content with that life. Until now. Now something inside her wanted more. Or maybe something inside her wanted different. Her mother saw the change first. "Stacey," Agatha had warned one evening, "this boy is pulling you away from your calling." Stacey rolled her eyes immediately. "Mum, isn't it very unchristian to segregate people? I thought Christians were supposed to love everyone." Agatha never knew how to answer those kinds of arguments. But her father approached things differently. Ben would sit beside her calmly and speak softly. "Stacey, the Bible says the kingdom of God is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man finds it, he sells everything just to keep that treasure." His blue eyes would hold hers steadily. "You've already found the kingdom, Stacey. You should be protecting it." Then more gently he would add, "You should be bringing people into the light, not allowing them pull you away from it." Those conversations affected her more than her mother's warnings ever did. Because somewhere deep down, she knew her father believed every word he said. But whatever was pulling her toward Andre's world felt stronger than reason, stronger than caution or conviction. Then eventually, her mother started bringing up the dreams again. Those dreams. The dreams Stacey had been having since she was 5 years old. Always the same. She would see herself standing before massive crowds singing worship songs. People would fall under the anointing during worship. Chains would break. People would get healed. Crowds would rush toward the altar crying and surrendering their lives to Jesus. Every single dream carried the same overwhelming presence of God. When she first told her mother about them as a child, Agatha had gone silent. Then she had explained the prophecy she received while pregnant with Stacey, that her daughter would be used mightily by God, that her songs would impact young people across nations, and that God would send her a partner to help her fulfill the assignment. At the time, Stacey loved those dreams. She embraced them completely. They made her feel chosen, special, safe. But now those dreams felt suffocating, like chains around her future. And slowly, the tension between her and her mother grew worse. Even Debbie had tried talking to her once. Debbie had looked genuinely worried. "Doesn't it scare you a little?" she asked softly, "walking away from everything you've known your whole life?" Nobody understood. That's how Stacey felt constantly. Nobody understood her anymore. Not Debbie, her mother, Daniel, definitely not Jair. Jair. Even thinking his name irritated her. He lived down the road and was practically another son in their house. He and Daniel were inseparable, always together, talking about ministry, always organising outreaches and youth programmes like they were already pastors. When they were younger, Stacey used to follow behind them everywhere. The three of them would roam around the neighbourhood talking to young people, inviting them to church, praying for people. Back then, it had felt exciting. Now it just felt childish. She stopped hanging around them once Andre became the centre of her life, and Jair noticed. At first, he never said anything, but she could feel his disapproval constantly. It sat in his eyes whenever he looked at her. Eventually, he tried speaking to her directly. "Stacey, you're making the biggest mistake of your life." She had shut him down immediately. "You wouldn't understand," she snapped. "You're too scared to move beyond what your mum planned for you." Even now, she still remembered the hurt that briefly crossed his face. But she hadn't cared. Or at least, she pretended not to. Daniel's words disturbed her far more. One evening, after a massive argument, her brother had looked her straight in the eyes and said quietly, "If God has called you, you can run wherever you want, Stacey. But eventually, you'll still end up where he called you." His voice remained calm. "You can't outrun God forever." That sentence haunted her for months. But eventually she buried it. Buried all of it. She convinced herself she had simply outgrown them, outgrown their little predictable lives. Their futures already seemed mapped out anyway. Everybody knew Daniel and Debbie would eventually get married. It wasn't even a question anymore, just a matter of time. And Stacey didn't want that kind of predictable life. So when she changed her university choice to Andre's university, it devastated her family. But Stacey didn't care. At least, that's what she told herself. All she knew was that something kept pulling her toward that world, and she needed to follow it. That had been 4 years ago. She and Andre started singing together at university almost immediately. People noticed them instantly. Musicians started gravitating toward them naturally. Then came Roxy, then Jared, then Gianni, and somehow, a band, Heart's Echoes, was born. They played small campus gigs first, then local venues, festivals, then came albums, until finally their latest album, The Wanderer, exploded. #1 charts, sold-out concerts, and packed stadiums. People kept saying it was the chemistry between her and Andre, the magic they created together. But Stacey knew better. The band worked because every single member mattered. They had become her family, and she genuinely loved them. Andre especially. Being together had felt inevitable from the beginning. Their chemistry was impossible to ignore. 4 years later, they were still together, still magnetic, still explosive together on stage. And yet, as deeply as Andre loved her, there was still a part of herself Stacey could not reach. It was buried somewhere too deep inside her, withdrawn, hidden and untouchable. And because she herself couldn't access it, she couldn't fully give it to anybody else, not even Andre. Especially on nights like this. Nights filled with celebration, because even while laughing, even while smiling, even while surrounded by people she loved, there was always a small part of her holding back, a part that never fully joined in. Slowly, her eyes drifted across the crowded room until they landed on Andre. Their eyes met instantly, and somehow, without speaking, he understood. Andre placed his drink down and crossed the room toward her. Then he wrapped his arms around her tightly. Stacey closed her eyes and held on to him with all the strength she had. It still wasn't enough. But for now, she would pretend it was.
By the early hours of the morning, every guest had finally gone. The laughter had faded. The music had stopped. The empty glasses and half-finished bottles were still scattered across the living room, evidence of a celebration Stacey had never fully entered into. She and Andre eventually retired to their room. For a while, neither of them said much. Stacey changed, washed her face, and got into bed, hoping sleep would come quickly. Then she noticed Andre. He was sitting at the edge of the bed, quietly rolling out cocaine. Her stomach tightened. "Andre?" He didn't look up. "Don't you think you're doing that too often these days?" Andre exhaled sharply. "For God's sake, Stacey. One can't even have fun around you anymore." His voice was sharp. "You've become this person I don't even recognize." Stacey sat up slowly. It was never supposed to be about fun. Andre looked at her then. She continued, "We said it was for creativity, for music." Her voice stayed calm, but there was a heaviness underneath it. "When I tried it with you the first time, I admitted it opened something in my mind. I was writing differently, feeling songs deeper." She paused. "But we never agreed to make it recreational." Andre's jaw tightened. "Now it's becoming part of your everyday life," Stacey said. "And when you don't get it, you become agitated, irritable, impossible to be around." He scoffed. "The others are starting to notice," she added quietly. "They keep dropping hints. Everyone keeps coming to me like I'm supposed to keep you in line." Her voice softened. "But they don't know I don't have that kind of say over you." Andre stood abruptly. "Stacey, I love you, but stay out of my business." That ended the conversation. He turned away from her and continued what he was doing. Stacey said nothing. She just watched him. Within 10 minutes, he was gone from her. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally, completely unreachable. Stacey lay beside him in silence, staring at the ceiling. "I didn't bargain for this." The thought came quietly. But immediately another thought followed it. You opened the door, and you cannot open a door and assume you can control how far it stays open. If anyone had told the younger Stacey that one day she would justify drug use for the sake of music, she would have laughed in their face. No, she would have been offended. But here she was. She had told herself it was different, that it helped her create, that it took her mind to places she could not reach naturally. And maybe, for her, she had managed to keep it limited, controlled, occasional. But Andre had not. He was turning to it more and more, and it scared her. It was like he had his own dark shadows chasing him, and no matter how much fame they collected, those shadows never stopped running. They both kept telling themselves they were living their happiest lives, but behind closed doors, the truth refused to stay hidden. Andre's mother, Sharon, had tried to reach him. At first, she called him directly. He shouted at her so many times that eventually, he stopped picking her calls altogether. Then Sharon started calling Stacey, begging, pleading, warning her that the path they were on could only lead to destruction. Stacey always reassured her. "We're being careful." But even that had become a lie. The band was known now. Their music was speaking. The world was listening. But Stacey had never felt so restless, or so empty. And suddenly, with a desperation she couldn't explain, she wanted to go home. She needed the peace of her parents' house, even if it meant lectures, even if it meant arguments, even if her mother would look at her with that worried expression again. She needed home. Once she made the decision, something inside her calmed, and eventually she fell asleep. The next morning, Stacey woke early and packed her bags. Andre stirred when he heard the suitcase zip. He sat up slowly, blinking. "What's going on?" "I need to go home for a bit," Stacey said. He frowned. "Is this because of last night?" She didn't answer immediately. Andre pushed his hair away from his face. "I'm sorry, okay? I'll reduce it. Yesterday was just... I was low. I needed something to pick me up." His voice softened. "Don't go. What am I supposed to do without you?" Stacey looked at him. "It's not just yesterday, Andre. You've been at it almost every day for the past month." His expression changed. "This is addiction we're talking about." He looked away. "And soon," she continued, "it will affect the music. It will affect everything around you." She pulled the suitcase upright. "But me going away is not just about you. It's about me." Her voice grew quieter. "I need somewhere safe right now. And for me, that's home." Andre rubbed both hands down his face. "So what am I supposed to do?" "You have plenty to do," she said gently. "Write songs, call the agents, start planning for the tour, arrange the next program. We have a lot coming." She paused. "Gianni and Roxy are going home too. You can work with Jared." Andre pleaded with her for a while, but Stacey had already made up her mind. She arrived at her parents' house around lunchtime. When Agatha opened the door and saw her standing there with a bag, she didn't look surprised. She just stepped aside and said, "Make yourself a plate and eat." As if she had been expecting her. That was home. No dramatic questions, no formal welcome. Stacey walked into the dining room and found everyone already at the table. Her father looked up first. She went straight to him and hugged him tightly. Ben held her for a moment longer than usual. Then Daniel looked up from his plate and grinned. "Ah, the prodigal daughter returns." He stood and pulled her into a hug. Stacey laughed. "Nice to see you too." Daniel sat back down. "So, how is life outside the will of God going?" Stacey rolled her eyes, but she laughed. "So far, so good. Our last concert was sold out." Agatha's face tightened. "That is not something to laugh about." But Daniel continued as though their mother had not spoken. "I read about it online. 4 nights, full capacity. That's big." He leaned back. "So I guess the tour starts soon. Andre must be ecstatic." Stacey scoffed before she could stop herself. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Problem in paradise?" Before Stacey could answer, Ben finally spoke. "Daniel, let her be." His tone was gentle but firm. "She just got here. You both have time to catch up later." Stacey gave her father a grateful glance. After lunch, she went upstairs and lay down in her old room. The room had barely changed. A few old books, a childhood photo, a faded choir program still tucked into the corner of the mirror. She stared at the ceiling and released a breath she didn't know she had been holding. There was no denying it. She was most at peace here. Even with her mother's disappointment hanging in the house. Even with all the unfinished conversations. She still knew her mother loved her. Agatha's love had not changed. Only the ease between them had. And Stacey knew why. Her mother believed she had stepped outside God's plan. Stacey had been raised in the Word. She knew the language. She knew the scriptures. She still prayed sometimes, especially when the restlessness became too loud. But she also knew that the life she was living now kept pulling her, and these two lives could not seem to coexist. Sometimes she missed the simple piece of who she used to be, but going back felt impossible. That version of her felt too far away. When Stacey woke later, the house was quiet. She went downstairs and found her mother in the kitchen cooking. For a moment, Stacey stood by the doorway watching her. Then she said softly, "So, Mum, does this mean you won't talk to me anymore?" Agatha turned slowly. Her face softened, but her voice remained steady. "If you were a mother and you saw your 3-year-old daughter holding a knife, would you sit and watch what she does with it?" Stacey sighed. "Mum, I'm not 3 years old." "No," Agatha said, "but danger is still danger." Stacey leaned against the counter. "I know you think I'm making the biggest mistake of my life." Her voice softened. "But won't you let me make it?" "If it is a mistake," she added, "I'll realize it sooner or later." Agatha looked at her for a long moment. "That is true." Then quietly she added, "If the mistake does not cost you something you cannot get back." The words settled heavily between them. Stacey swallowed. "Mum, I miss you." Agatha's eyes glistened slightly. "Can we call a truce?" Stacey asked. Agatha stepped closer. "Stacey, you are my daughter. I love you. I cannot be in a quarrel with you." A pause. "But if you come to me to talk, I will always tell you the truth." Her voice became firmer. "I will not compromise the truth just to have a relationship with you." Stacey's eyes softened. She moved forward and hugged her mother. "I'm not asking you to compromise the truth," she whispered. "I just want to be able to talk to you, without hearing every minute that I'm making a mistake." Agatha held her tightly. For a moment, neither of them said anything. And for the first time in a long time, Stacey felt like she could breathe. She stayed in the kitchen and talked with her mother for a while. And after some time, she went to look for Daniel. Daniel had converted the old outhouse behind the family home into an office for the ministry. It had become their headquarters, planning center, prayer room, counseling office, study space. Stacey pushed the door open casually. The moment Debbie saw her, her face lit up instantly. "Stacey!" Debbie jumped up and rushed toward her without hesitation, pulling her into a tight hug. And for the first time since coming home, Stacey smiled fully. Debbie was the only person who never treated her differently after she left. Never judged her or preached to her. Never looked at her like a disappointment. "I'm so happy to see you," Debbie said warmly. "Daniel told me you were around. Why didn't you say you were coming?" Stacey laughed softly. "I decided last night." Then her eyes drifted toward the next room. Jair was there, seated at the desk with papers spread around him. When he noticed her, he looked up calmly. "Hello, Stacey." His voice stayed neutral. "Welcome back." Stacey folded her arms lightly. "Thank you." Then she added dryly, "I see you're still here. Honestly, why don't you just get a bed and permanently move into this house?" From the next room, Daniel shouted immediately, "Stacey, behave yourself." She rolled her eyes. "You literally just came back and you're already starting with Jair again." Then Daniel appeared by the doorway. "What exactly is it about Jair that rubs you the wrong way? Care to share?" Stacey shrugged lazily. "To someone to rub me the wrong way, I'd actually have to care about them." Jair leaned back in his chair calmly. "I see age hasn't improved your manners," he said. "If anything, they're worse." Stacey gave him a sharp look. but ignored him completely. Instead, she turned back to Debbie and started chatting casually, asking about everyone in town. And yet, even while talking, she remained aware of Jair's presence in the room. And why is he always calm and composed? She thought. Stacey had been home for 4 days when things started feeling normal again. She spent long evenings walking through town with music in one ear. She had missed this place more than she realized. The familiar roads, the quiet evenings, the slower pace of life. For the first time in months, her mind wasn't constantly racing. Her phone suddenly rang. "Andre," she answered. "Hey, where are you?" Andre asked immediately. "I'm at your parents' house." Stacey stopped walking. "You're where?" "At your parents' house." "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply. Andre sounded confused by her tone. "I came to see you. I missed you." His voice softened. "It's been 4 days." Stacey closed her eyes briefly. "Andre, I needed this time. I needed space to gather my thoughts before coming back." Then irritation crept into her voice. "Can't you even let me have that?" There was silence on the line. "I'm out walking," she said shortly. "I don't know when I'll be back." The truth was she was almost home already. But after hearing he was there, she immediately turned around and walked back toward town, annoyed. Because somehow, he had entered the one place that still felt safe. By the time she returned home later that evening, dinner was already being prepared. And of course, Andre was there. So were Debbie and Jair. The moment Stacey walked in and saw Jair seated comfortably at the table again, she muttered under her breath, "Doesn't he have a house?" Jair looked up immediately. "And he can hear you." Stacey shrugged. "Good." Then she looked directly at him. "I heard you finally moved out of your mum's house." A pause. "So, what exactly do you do in your apartment? Since apparently you eat every meal here." Daniel burst out laughing, while Jair looked unimpressed. "Do not answer her," Daniel warned immediately. "Answering Stacey only prolongs the conversation." The truth was, their house had always been like this, filled with people. Agatha would feed the entire neighborhood if her kitchen could handle it. Andre walked over to Stacey and wrapped her in a hug. She returned it halfway. Enough not to draw attention, not enough to invite closeness. Dinner itself passed peacefully enough, mostly because Ben kept redirecting conversations before arguments started. Later that night, Stacey walked Andre back to his hotel. The streets were quiet. Andre finally stopped walking and looked at her. "I can tell coming here was a mistake." Stacey sighed softly. "I thought maybe you'd miss me too," he added. She looked at him. "I might have, if you gave me enough time to." That stung. Andre shoved both hands into his pockets. "I thought I told you to stay back and work with Jared," Stacey continued. "Instead, you left him alone and came here to do what? Hold your girlfriend's hand?" Andre stared at her quietly for a few seconds. Then finally he spoke. "I know it's the drugs." His voice dropped lower. "That's why you're upset." Stacey said nothing. "I haven't touched anything since you left," he said quickly. "I'm trying, Stacey." She looked at him carefully. "This is our world, Andre. We see what drugs do to people every day." Her voice softened. "What exactly are you running from?" Andre looked away immediately. "Our band is doing well. The album is doing well. We're successful." She stepped closer slightly. So why are you searching for comfort in dope? Then, more quietly, she added, think about your mother. That made him tense. She's already suffered enough because of your father. Stacey's eyes softened. You are her only real source of joy. Don't destroy yourself in front of her. Andre nodded slowly. I hear you. Then, after a pause, and I've stopped. Stacey wasn't fully convinced, but she let it go. Anyway, she said, I'm staying here a bit longer. Andre frowned slightly. You need to go back and work with Jared and Reggie on planning the tour. He looked disappointed, but eventually nodded. Andre left town 2 days later. After he left, Stacey slowly settled into a routine again. Long walks, quiet evenings, conversations with Debbie. She had genuinely missed Debbie. They still fit together naturally despite everything that had changed. One evening during her walk, Stacey came across Jair. He fell into step beside her naturally. Can I talk to you for a minute? Stacey removed one earphone slowly but said nothing. Jair kept walking beside her. Stacey, I've known you since you were in diapers. His voice stayed calm. I've been friends with Daniel since we were babies. Half my childhood was spent in your house because of my mum's work schedule. He glanced at her briefly. We practically grew up like siblings. Stacey stayed silent. Jair continued carefully. I honestly can't remember doing anything to offend you. A pause. But somewhere along the line, you started hating me. Stacey scoffed lightly. I don't hate you. Jair ignored the interruption. I know it's not jealousy. His eyes narrowed slightly, but there's irritation there every time you look at me. He shook his head slightly, and it's been there for years. Finally, Stacey spoke. First of all, you are not my brother. Her tone was sharp. And secondly, I don't need to feel the same way everyone else feels about you. Jair looked genuinely confused. But there was a time things weren't like this. Stacey laughed shortly. What? When I was 4? Then she looked directly at him. Maybe I just grew up and realized I'm not that crazy about you. Jair frowned slightly. So what changed? That question hit harder than he realized. Stacey looked away immediately. Then finally she said, Are you so egotistical that you can't accept somebody might simply not like you? Silence. Jair stopped walking. Then quietly he said, Sorry to disturb you. And he walked away. Stacey stood there watching him disappear down the road. Her chest tightened painfully. Because how exactly was she supposed to explain the truth? How could she tell him that in the dreams she started having at 5 years old, he was always there beside her? The part she never told anyone, not even her mother, not even Daniel. In every dream, after she sang, Jair stepped forward with the word, and souls came to Christ. Every single time. The prophecy spoken over her mother while pregnant, the partner God would send her. Even as a child, Stacey somehow knew it was Jair, and she hated it. Even now, thinking about it left a bitter taste in her mouth. Why had she hidden that part for so many years? She couldn't fully explain it, but even as a little girl, something about it had felt wrong. Like her life had already been decided before she even got the chance to choose it herself. You will do this for my kingdom and marry this person. You will live this life. But what about what she wanted? What if she wanted something different? What if she wanted ownership over her own future? Maybe that was why Andre had felt so irresistible, because choosing him felt like choosing herself. For once, this life was hers, her decision, her choice. And no prophecy or dream, no calling, would decide her future for her, even if it destroyed her. Stay tuned for episode 2. Please subscribe and share.
But the voice in my bones only